The time. We're 28 minutes before the hour of 9 o'clock. It is Thursday, and we do tech on Thursdays with Dr. Computer, Alex Newman. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Jerry. How are you doing today?
I am doing very well, thank you. Oh, is that a nice new background you've got?
Oh
Is
yeah,
that, some,
I, you
is
know,
that, is that somebody else's bedroom?
I'm guessing it is. I'm guessing it is.
Anyway, how you been?
Pretty busy, which is great. I've had a lot on my plate these past
Mm-hmm.
couple of weeks, and it's been interesting, so to speak, and lots of work during the day, and also lots of training and training the mind. Of course, I've the physical part is kind of eludes me. But yeah, doing a lot these past couple of days. Also, as we mentioned here on the show, I got my first dose recently.
Oh,
I'm
that's
getting
right. Yeah.
my
Mm-hmm.
second dose at the end of the month, and no effects whatsoever so far with the AstraZeneca.
I have had results from the Pfizer one though.
That is great to hear.
Yes, no COVID.
And no COVID.
No. Yeah.
That's two great
So,
things.
tell me, you sent me, I got a note last night talking about Google I/O, and I said to you this morning, what on earth is a Google I/O? Trying to work out what I/O means. What exactly are we going to be talking about this morning?
Well, Google is famous for doing its developer conference, and it calls it Google I/O. It's been going on for a couple of years, and it's like their annual pilgrimage where people used to go and see all the new stuff coming from Google, mainly like things like consumer devices and new features on
Okay.
Google. Yeah, but nowadays it's also a showcase for what direction Google is going with its research. So you also get to see what Google is working on regarding new computing methods, new models, new ways of doing things, and stuff that you might see a couple of years from now on your devices or being used in a kind of a transparent fashion. Because a lot of the times, these advanced technologies do the best job when they're invisible, when you can't really tell that they're there and
Hmm.
just use them. I don't know if you remember a demo a couple of years ago where Google had this intelligent assistant call a local hair shop and set up an appointment for someone with zero human interaction, in the sense that you just tell the assistant, hey Google, get me an appointment with so and so's hair salon or whatever,
Hmm. Hmm.
and it would dial the phone, call the person on the other side, ask for an appointment, say for Wednesday at 8, but they
Hmm.
said, well, we can't at that time. How about this other time? And so on. Just this interaction, even with ums and ahs and whatever to make it sound natural, that was kind of eerie in one way, but also an indicative of where artificial intelligence is going, where it kind of blurs the whole line between what's you know physical and what's virtual. So in
Hmm.
this occasion for 2021, it was kind of a semi virtual event, in the sense that there were some Google employees there. Sundar Pichai was also there, and it was live streamed to the rest of the world, which is interesting. People can now attend a lot of these industry events without being formally part of the industry or having to
Okay. Hmm.
worry about a US visa or travel
Hmm.
requirements,
Hmm.
hotels, etc., which would make you think that hotels would then be a little bit more competitive and maybe lower their prices. But I'm talking to you, Vegas hotels for CES 2022. I've got my eye on the pricing. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go if to CES 2022. I certainly hope so. I'm trying to save up for it, but yeah, I hope the prices come down a little bit, because it's
That's in
almost
Las Vegas.
yes, that's in Las
I
Vegas.
would have thought because they're getting so many people in town. Mind you, I suppose it's a captive audience, so they don't need to. But I've always thought the idea with Las Vegas hotels was to get the rooms out there cheap, because people are going to spend money in the casinos and in the shows and everything else.
I would think so too. And I don't spend that much money in the casinos themselves, but It's kind of a thing to go to a couple of shows like Cirque du Soleil and so on. So
Hmm.
hopefully the prices will come down a little bit and make it a bit more affordable for people to go back to CES. But coming back to Google
Hmm.
I/O, they
Hmm.
came out with the Android 12 beta, which is the next version of Android. A lot of
Okay.
people are
Yeah.
running Android 10 or 11 right now on their phones.
Hmm.
So Android 12 is going to bring some interesting developments both in the aesthetic part and in the functional part. You can run the beta right now on certain Pixel phones from
Right.
Google,
Mhm.
certain phones from OnePlus as well, and from Xiaomi, which is refreshing to see more brands being able to do this. Um, for some reason, Samsung is not on the list yet, which is strange because they did announce a new partnership with Samsung for Wear OS. They're going to combine
Okay.
Wear OS with the Tizen operating system that's present in a lot of these Samsung wearables
Hmm.
to bring more functionality to both platforms under the umbrella of Wear OS. And they're also going to bring in all the information and know-how and technology from Fitbit, which was recently acquired by Google as well. So
Hmm.
that's going to be an interesting merger of all of these functionalities. A lot of people are worried that, so much technology and information is going to be in the hands of a single player, but at least it will, bring some really strong competition to your friends at Apple with the Apple Watch and everything else. So that's going to be interesting to hear, to see what's going to go on with that.
But isn't
Speak.
this the
Mhm.
thing though, now? I mean, to me, right now, to be perfectly honest, is more exciting knowing what the upgrade in the software is going to do, because the hardware side has almost become stagnant. I mean, I got a software upgrade from Samsung the other day, and I'm running a Galaxy Note 10, so it's not sort of one of this really sort of new phones. But I keep getting updates, and they improve things on the camera, they improve different things on the operating system. And to me, now that is the thing that I'm interested in, and I look forward to, because I don't need different hardware. This hardware is perfect. So, I also have the pen, of course, on the Note 10. It's not a new phone, the Note 10, but why would I need to buy new hardware?
Yeah, and that kind of goes against what you would think Samsung or other brands would want to do in the sense that they are making you not so dependent on buying a new phone every year. So I hope they continue to, provide upgrades and updates on the
Mm,
software for phones for at least 2 to 3 years, because we're talking about an investment every time you buy a really
exactly.
good flagship phone that is worth like 1.5 times a decent salary, a decent salary for a month. So at least in Panama numbers.
Well,
So
phones are as expensive, or not more expensive now, than a laptop.
yeah, yeah, they are more powerful than some laptops in
Oh, that's
some
true.
some ways too. But I mean, the battery lasts all day, and
Hmm.
they have 4, 6, 8 gigabytes of RAM. They have multiple core CPUs and GPUs. They are veritable powerhouses in the palm of your hand in tiny OLED screens. So
Mm,
it is warranted that they cost what they cost, and I hope that companies such as Samsung and the others can continue to provide upgrades and updates to the software in a sustainable, at least financially sustainable way, because not having to upgrade your phone every year makes it more sustainable, not only financially, but economically and ecologically as
mm.
well.
Well, you wouldn't replace your laptop every year, would you? I
You
mean,
you try to keep it around at least 2 or 3 years, sometimes more. I know people
yeah.
who change their laptop like once or twice a decade. So
Hmm.
there's that. So, in speaking of Android 12, it's got a lot of improvements. For example, in the functionality part, new buttons to turn on and adjust things like Google Pay, a
Hmm.
privacy control, which is interesting. It's not as reassuring as a physical toggle switch, but you've got controls to turn off the microphone, the camera,
Hmm.
and other sensors on the phone more readily available, which is, a good thing to have from a privacy standpoint. Ironically, privacy features coming from the likes of Google and Apple and Facebook and so on usually make you, a little bit skeptical. So, but we'll have to wait and see on that. They're going to have artificial intelligence isolation so that it only goes on in the private core in your phone.
Hmm.
So whenever you use things like Google Assistant or whatever, the hardware is now powerful enough that it doesn't depend on the cloud to do this, which is good in two ways. One, it's less data that has to go in and out of your phone, which means better power efficiency.
Hmm.
And it's less data going in and out of your phone and onto Google's cloud and so on, which is better for privacy as well. So
Hmm.
we're going to have to see how that goes.
Did
They're
you?
fine. Mhm.
I think I mentioned to you when we were talking last. And did you find it was under developers the switch that you can put on your sort of screen where all the little buttons are, sensors off? Did you find that?
Did I find that where on my phone?
I think, yeah, I think we were talking about it the other day because you do. There is a little button you have to activate it by going into the developers, and there's a button that goes sensors off, and it shuts down all the sensors like GPS and all these things, so you don't have to be tracked everywhere you go.
That's interesting. I hadn't looked into that. I had heard of that. I turned
Hmm.
off my developer options, and I'm gonna look for that right now. Let's see, sensors off. I'll look for that in
Hmm.
a little while, but
Because
I'll
I
keep
mean,
that in mind.
I don't use it that much, but it's a good. It shuts down GPS and all these things. So um, basically, just it's not as drastic as the sort of aircraft.
Airplane
Uh,
mode.
yeah, but it does shut off the sensors. So that was interesting.
Yeah. Now the thing about Android 12 is that you're going to have buttons on the main part of the drop down display that will allow you to turn these sensors on and off individually or
Hmm.
collectively
Yeah, that's
in a
good.
much easier way without having to turn on developer options. It's also going to have a dynamic color palette with dynamic lighting, which means that it's going to adjust to things like, for example, ambient light or you moving your finger on top of the phone, or
Mm.
even things like the background that you're using, so that all the apps kind of match whatever your background is. So that's going to be interesting as well. It's going to have a new Android TV remote function so
Mhm.
that on your phone, if you have an Android TV device, either a TV that's got Android TV or an Android TV box hooked up to a TV, you're going to be able to use your phone as a remote, or a more detailed remote than what you have right now. And that's on the consumer side of things. On the development side of things, they also announced some interesting things like new development of new AI accelerator chips that are going to be out there helping people with their artificial intelligence application, a new quantum campus. They also had celebrity Michael Pena from the Ant-Man series. I'm guessing because the next movie is Quantum Mania. They wanted to kind of relate the whole thing. They're going to be working on more powerful quantum computers. That's going to be
Mhm.
interesting as well. They developed a new AI system called Lambda, or they came out with more information about Lambda. That's LAMDA, that allows natural language processing in a very context-based way. So, two demos that they did was talk to the planet Pluto. Like you actually, ask the planet Pluto questions, and it uses the power of artificial intelligence and all the information that's out there on the internet to
Mhm.
reply to questions from the point of view of the planet Pluto. They also did a more metaphysical one asking questions of a paper plane, a paper airplane. So that's going to be interesting to see how it develops. Now, one of the things that I did find very promising and very, we're living in the future like, was something called Starline. So, you know how they call these 3D like projections on a piece of glass that, since you don't really focus on the glass, your perspective feels like it's actually there. They've used it for concerts, for
Yeah.
like bringing
Yeah.
back people who are long gone or whatever, where they took that in an interesting direction. Imagine a Skype or a Zoom conversation or whatever, but in front of you is a transparent pane of glass over which a 3D looking image is being projected so that it looks like the person is actually on the other side, as opposed to watching on TV, which is
Right.
flat.
Hmm.
You see a 3D perspective where if you move your head around or whatever, you can see the sides of the person that you're looking at using multiple cameras and whatever. Kind of what when you're talking to someone across a pane of glass, like in a teller window or something like that in that experience. And with 3D audio and 3D video and whatever, it makes it more like you're actually there. So that's going to be interesting for not only social distancing applications like they might need right now, but also for future learning opportunities or for interaction with people who are in other parts of the world or something like that. That's going to be interesting. New 3D video chat applications in that sense.
So basically,
Um,
then you're talking about what we always see in any sci-fi music movie is that you're not looking at a black screen, you're looking at a clear screen. I mean,
yeah,
I saw one not so long ago. I thought that was rather nice. It was basically your mobile phone. What you would use is your mobile phone, and all there was a bar at the bottom, which is where I guess that all the hardware is, and then above it was a clear screen. And then what you were typing came up onto the clear screen. So you still have this sort of look through effect on it. I'm looking forward to that. Or we've got to get further into the future where you don't have a screen at all and it just pops up in front of you.
exactly. Now, this is probably also like the screens you saw in the movie Avatar as well, where the
Hmm.
monitor is transparent and you just see whatever it is in front of you.
Hmm.
Now, those sci-fi movies, most of the time, the monitor was transparent. In this case, and the image was flat. In this
Hmm.
case, the image is 3D, so it kind of looks
Right.
like augmented reality in that sense. Uh, Kind
Is
of
this
like
something that is sort of far off in the future or something which is being developed right now?
no, it's being developed right now, so
Mm.
I'm guessing we're going to see it maybe within the next 5 years. More like the time machine, the latest iteration of the time machine, where the titular character visits a library and there's this quote unquote hologram that goes from screen to screen and all the glass is shattered or whatever, but you can partially see him through, like
Mm.
if he were some sort of a ghost on the other side of the glass. But if you look at the other side of the glass, there's nothing there.
Mm.
So it's kind of like a window onto an alternate reality in that sense. So it's going to be interesting to see,
Mm.
especially how high the resolution is and how solid the image
Hmm.
looks
Hmm.
to fool the brain into thinking that it's actually there. Some other improvements to Google Maps, they've got contextual understanding so that you can say, ask more context-based questions. And it's also going to have virtual signs, virtual street signs, and also something called safest route. You know that you can ask for the shortest route or you can ask for
Okay.
the fastest route.
Or the
They came
cheapest.
out with some, or the cheapest if you want to avoid tolls. But they're going to come out with something called the safest route. I don't know what that's based on. It may be that safest means less, left turns at certain intersections or things like that. It's going to be interesting to see how cities are going to share that information with Google, or
Mm.
Google, how Google is going to infer that information from, for example, when people report accidents on ways and things like that. That's going to be interesting to see. I hope it's not some other, well-intentioned but badly implemented form of redlining where they say, this neighborhood's bad, so avoid it or
Mm.
whatever. I hope that's not the case. But that's going to be interesting. Also, on the search part, they're going to have more contextual based searches, such as, you show it a pair of boots and you ask it questions like, is this good for hiking up Cerro Ancon, for example? And it's
Mm.
going to, try to make sense of what you're asking and give you the right answers for that, or let you shop for new boots if those are not the ones that are best to do that.
I'll tell you
Google. Mhm.
what I was, I met the other day with Dominic. Dominic is a friend of mine. He's doing all of the mapping in Panama for Google, Google
That's
Street View.
interesting.
Perhaps I was going to have him on the program for an update. Perhaps I'll get him to try and join us next week.
That would be awesome. And I'd love to interview him. Does he also speak Spanish? Maybe I could interview
Yeah,
him
I'm sure he
for my
does.
show.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he does because I was saying with him the other day, what he's also got now is a drone. So what he's doing is, as well as I think he's not got that much more to do of Panama with regards to the street view.
Mhm.
He's in Chiriquí, Boquete, most of the city, I think he's done now. But what he's doing now, he's got a drone, and so he's doing sort of low level record 360 degrees of like a particular area. Then you can go there and you can see points where you can touch. You can touch, and it'll take you down and take you into wherever it is you're going. And he's done 360 in the a lot of the businesses here. Some of the you go in, you can see it. It's like what I used to play with Second Life. And you can go in and you can go into say a shop and you can look around and see what they've got on the counters and stuff like that. So yeah, he would be interesting to talk to on the program. He's
That would be
running.
awesome.
He was running around in his big Toyota with the camera on the top. And so yeah, I'll instead of just getting him on my own, I'll perhaps ask him to join us next week. I'll see if he's available.
So that sounds great. Maybe I can interview him for my show as well. Going on to the search, Google Shop is also incorporating Google Lens, so you can shop for stuff more easily by just taking pictures of things that you're interested in, and they're going to open it up for the general public to use so they can sell their wares. So that's going to be interesting as well. And they also came out with a dermatology application where you take a photo of that lump or that spot or whatever that you're interested in from a couple of different angles, and it uses artificial intelligence to
Hmm.
let you know if you should be worried or not about whatever it is you're taking a picture of. So that's also going to be an interesting development in remote medicine, to put it
Hmm.
in some terms. Also, Google Photos has new options, including things like hide people that you don't want showing up in family pictures or whatever. So, for those who just recently had a breakup, that's going to be interesting. So yeah,
Okay.
it's going to be an interesting next couple of months and years as all of this research and new applications trickle down to the end user and consumer.
Hmm. Oh, excellent, Alex. Yeah. Oh, so well now I know what the Google I/O is. I/O. Look, they got new stuff. Um. So this you mentioned the Pixel phones because they still have hardware? Google.
Yeah, they license the manufacturing out
Hmm.
to whoever they fancy at the time, and yeah, they do still have Pixel phones, and they have pretty good cameras, mostly because of the software. They don't
Hmm.
rely on
Right.
expensive sensors or anything. They just make really good AI that enhances the information that the sensors
Mm.
get. So that's going to be interesting. Speaking of AI, one thing that I got recently sent to me by a company called CoolPo. I'm showing it on the
What
screen
was
right
that? A
now for
food
those.
processor?
It actually looks like something of between a food processor, a Bose speaker, and maybe a couple of other things. But it actually is a 360-degree camera here
Oh,
sitting on
okay.
top
Hmm.
with a
Hmm.
360 microphone and a USB plug that allows me to do remote video conferencing for several people at a time. Remember that camera I used to use for web transmissions
Hmm.
that was a 4K camera that emulated 9 different cameras at the same time?
Okay. Hmm.
Well, this is the same concept, but for video conferencing, 360 degrees around. It creates virtual cameras for each person in the
Oh, that's
room.
great. That's good.
Yep. So that people can have
Just if
their
one
socially,
person talking, that microphone picks it up and the camera moves to that place.
not only that, you have the several cameras at the same time in a split screen configuration. so that you see all of the people at the same time, even though it's a single camera, and the
Yeah.
microphone and the speakers pick up for, the entire room. So you get full room audio. Even if somebody just walks in the room, it will pick up and it's establish a new virtual camera to look at that person and hear that person talk. So
That's
it's
clever.
really good for, yeah, very. You can turn any room into a conference room, and it's like having multiple computers and cameras at the same time in a single room. I'm doing a review, unboxing, and demonstration of that on my TV show on Channel 4 tonight at 7 p.m. So
Hmm.
look forward to that if you want to see it
Yeah,
working.
that'll be
I'll
great.
upload, yep, I'll upload that next week
Hmm.
on my YouTube channel as well. So I'm looking forward to that. And you can see how it works, and maybe check it out. And if it's something that you might want to use for your,
Who
your
makes
conference
that?
room, or it's called Coolpo, Coolpo. So you can look for
Okay.
Coolpo,
Yeah.
and they make this one, and they also make a mini version, which is a tiny one that it's like one of those tiny soundbar speakers, but it
Mm-hmm.
kind of does some of the same functionality, except it's not 360, but it's pretty wide angle,
Hmm.
and you get some of that functionality as well in a more portable package.
Hmm.
So look
Oh,
for
that's
that on the
great.
Coolpo
Hmm.
website as well.
Okay. And I guess they're not available here in Panama.
Not directly, but you can order
You
them
can
through
get
the
them.
website. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm working on, and please follow me on Twitter and Instagram and so on, at Vida Digital on pretty much every other network, and Alex Newman on my Twitter. I'm going to be looking for any discount codes that they can provide so that you can
Mhm.
get it with a discount.
Okay. Alex, perfect. And we'll put some links and info on our website today, what we've been talking about. Alex, as
Thank you.
always, thank you so very much for spending time with
Thank
us
you.
here on The Breakfast Show. And well, keep up the good work, keep busy.
I will. See you
All
next
right.
week.
All the
Bye,
best. There we
Yasmin.
go. She's waving. Oh, yes. She's... Take care, Alex. All the best. Dr.
You
Computer,
too.
Alex Newman, with us here on this morning's Breakfast Show.